Hello, welcome to Mr. Paul's Pantry. I'm Mr. Paul. If you're new here, a very warm welcome, and I'm pleased you called round to see us. If you're returning, then it's nice to see you back again. Today my recipe is for an English crumpet. English crumpets are now eaten universally all over the world, but were originated in England. Now they're very, very easy to make. A lot of people seem to have problems with them. I don't know why. I'll try and make it as simple as I can. I'm going to show you the method that I've used in my bakery for many, many years. Some people may make them differently. Some people may have a slightly different recipe. I don't know. But the way I make it is the way I'm going to show you. And I'm sure if you follow my instructions, you won't have any problems. So let's get on. I'll show you the ingredients. And here are the ingredients for the crumpets. Now this will make approximately 6 crumpets, but if you want to make more, you just have to scale up the recipe, that's all. I'm using 150 grams of strong bread flour. That means it's got a protein content of about 12% or more. Now you can use ordinary all-purpose flour or plain flour if you wish. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but I prefer to use the bread flour myself. So this is 150 grams of bread flour, 200 grams of warm water, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoonful of instant dried yeast, and 1 teaspoonful of baking powder. Now a lot of recipes tell you to use baking soda. I've tried both. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but I find mine turn out better if I use the baking powder instead of the baking soda. That's entirely up to you. So here I'll go through that again, but they will be listed underneath the video and also on the channel's website, mrpaulspantry.com. 150 grams of flour, 200 grams of water. Remember, I always weigh the water myself. Half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoonful of active dried yeast, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's all we need. So we'll get them put together. I'll show you how we do it and we'll get started. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the flour into the mixing bowl. You can mix this by hand, but it's very vigorous mixing it needs, and it will take you about 10 to 15 minutes by hand. If you've got the inclination, you need the exercise, be my guest. I haven't either. Okay, I'm using the stand mixer. So that's the flour in there, that's the salt going in there, and then we're going to put in the water. That's just warm water. And we, excuse me, reaching over the camera, sorry about that. We're going to mix that now for about, in the mixer, 7 minutes. And whilst we're doing that, I will be showing you how to prepare the yeast mixture. So while the flour and the water's mixing, I'm going to show you how to what to do with the yeast. First of all, it's 1 tablespoonful, I beg your pardon, it's 1 teaspoonful of yeast, as I explained before, and half a teaspoon of sugar. And just a little water. We don't need a lot. All we're going to do is just dissolve that to give it a little kick start, that's all. Just give it a little kick start, just stir that round till it's mixed, and we need to leave that sitting now there for about 5 minutes, just so it starts to activate. What will happen, the yeast will start feeding on the sugar, and we should start to see bubbles appearing on top like a froth, and that is actually the byproduct of the feeding. It's carbon dioxide, and it's those little bubbles that make the holes in the crumpet eventually. Right, now here we are. I'm sure you can see the yeast which I put. It's now foaming up a little bit more. It's got a nice froth on top, and we're going to put that into the flour now. Probably you can see the foam come out there. See it sitting on top? There it is, all in. And on top of that, we're going to put the baking powder. And we're going to mix this now for just, 30 seconds. Now the 30 seconds are up, and we're going to leave that now covered in a warm place, just like we would normally a bread dough. There it is, just like we would normally a bread dough, for it to rise. Now we're not leaving it for hours. We're going to put this in a warm place, cover it with a tea towel, and it's going to take 15 to 20 minutes, that's all. So I'll do that and then I'll be back shortly. Now here you can see the dough. It's foamed up. It's almost doubled in size. Now I've got the hot plate. Well, I'm using a frying pan, but in the bakery we used a hot plate, of course. We didn't use a pan. I'm using a pan, and it's about 190 degrees I've set it to. It's difficult setting the heat in a pan, not like setting the heat in an oven. But there, we'll watch them now, and you'll see the bubbles start coming to the top and bursting. And it's those bubbles that are coming to the top that are going to produce the holes in the crumpet. I don't know if you can see them there or not. In a moment, when they've started appearing a bit more, I will move the camera and let you have a look. There, you should be able to see the bubbles coming up now in the tins. So once we've got them in the pan or on the griddle plate or whatever you're going to cook them on, leave them alone for about 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, you should be able to lift off the rings, but let's wait for the bubbles to form. Now, after about 3 minutes, we should be able to remove the rings and just let them finish off there. And while ever it's looking wet on top, we leave them in the pan. As soon as they start looking dry and the bubbles have formed and burst, leaving the holes, those are the holes that fill with butter, of course, when you start to eat them. And there we go. They'll take a few more minutes, so I won't let you sit looking at bubbles bursting. I'll come back in a few minutes. And there we can see the holes forming quite nicely now. And once they don't look moist on top, once they look dry, that means they go dull, they're not shiny, then we can turn them over and just for a few seconds just brown the tops. Just for a few seconds. And there we are. Beautiful, soft, they're very hot, fluffy crumpets. Well, that's it for this time. If you've enjoyed the recipe, go down below, give it a thumbs up, and if you have any comments, leave them. I read them all and I do reply to them personally. Okay, if you have any questions, it doesn't necessarily have to be about the crumpets. Any questions, I'll try and answer them if I can. Now, if you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button underneath the video, and you'll also see at the side then a little bell icon. If you click on that, you'll get a reminder every time I put up a new video, so you won't miss one. So this is Mr. Paul saying bye for now, and I'll see you next time. Bye!